Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody already interested somewhat in the rail industry of some sort, like, hey, I might, want to just go work for Norfolk Southern as a train crew or a track. But they have that kind of engineering background. They maybe want to take that next step. I think that's the conversation to have is, well, hey, if you're looking for a railroad specific career, um, why not give this a try? If that's something that you want to go into, this rail industry, these programs are definitely a great way to take that next step, because not only do they have the course related content, they also have the connections to AREMA. They have the connections to a bunch of industry people that are already out there that can help you that take that step from high school to college, and then from college to either research or college to a full-time career with the railroad, consulting group, or whatever. I mean, that's really, I think, the reason to go to these specific programs as compared to just a typical engineering degree.
You may know the American Railway Engineering and Maintenance of Way Association, or AREMA, as the, quote, keepers of the manuals. You may know them as the, quote, people behind the largest annual railroad conference in North America. Heck, you may not know about AREMA at all. This podcast is designed, no pun intended, to change your view of who AREMA is and how AREMA has changed the trajectory of many railway careers over its 100-plus year history. Welcome to Platform Chats with your host, Walt Bleser, where he takes a moment to discuss the impacts AREMA has had on the very people who are proud to be called members. Are you ready to roll with AREMA?
ARE Corporation is a proud supporter of AREMA and Platform Chats. If you are looking to take your railway structures career to the next level, or simply start it down the right track, please visit us at arecorp.com. Please see our brand new job postings on our careers page or on our LinkedIn page.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Platform Chats. I am your host, Walt Bleser, again. Eventually I will probably be replaced by somebody, but I don't know who that's going to be. Until AREMA headquarters lets me go, I will continue to fulfill this role. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoy doing it. I hope you enjoy our podcast. I hope you enjoy the content we have provided to you thus far. We've heard some great things in the feedback and in the direct messages. I appreciate them. You can reach out to me. Easiest way to get a hold of me is find me on LinkedIn. My last name is spelled with one S. Pretty easy to find me. Shoot me a message. I appreciate those that have already done so. Good news. We are officially the number 9 out of 35 top railway industry podcasts. So we kind of sunk below 10 there for a minute, and we came back to the top 10 as number 9. I guess if we put out more content, we might go up a little faster, but I got news for you folks. I've got another job. Yes, I know. Shocker. I actually do something other than the AREMA Platform Chats podcast. So let's get to it. Without further ado, I appreciate feedback. I hope everybody enjoyed the conference recap. When I was strolling the halls throughout the conference center here in Denver, Colorado, I ran into some folks in the, I believe it was the student or new young professionals networking group, which was pretty cool. They were playing some sort of bingo, which actually turned out to be pretty fun because you had to kind of work your way around the room and meet people and fill out your bingo card. And it was a good little networking activity. We had several college and university students there, as well as some professors and, of course, some industry people. And that's where I met Bryan. And I said, Bryan, hey, I think we should do a podcast and talk a little bit about something that we've ignored to date, which, this is podcast number 20, believe it or not. This will be the first time we really get into student chapters at AREMA, as well as scholarship opportunities for students, and talking a little bit about how interested students can get into the railway industry and how AREMA membership and or interaction could benefit them. So, okay, sorry for the long intro. That could be a record, and apologize for that. But without further ado, Bryan Schlake is a assistant teaching professor at Penn State-Altoona, and I also have, last but not least, Gary Babcoke, who is a project engineer for the Westlake corridor of the Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District. And if those of you with a good memory know, that is where Vic Babin recently retired. And so I'm sure Gary knows Vic, and we appreciate Vic's time at AREMA. So Bryan, hey, why don't you jump in here and give us a little bit of background on who you are and how you got to the seat you're in right now.
For sure. Good to be with you, Walt. And yeah, thanks for having us on. I've had a longer career with AREMA, or experience with AREMA, than I realized. I originally thought that my membership started in 2008, but I guess it started back in 2006 when I was still, I guess, a junior at the University of Illinois. I was not one of the people that grew up loving railroads or even knowing anything about the railroad. I'm from Chicago suburbs, Naperville, and we do have the BNSF Speedway triple track that comes right through my town, but we didn't ride the train a whole lot, and I wasn't really exposed to it much until this was my sophomore year of college as a mechanical engineering student at the University of Illinois. I was just looking for a summer internship, and I put my information down on our career services thing, and they would try to match you with different opportunities. And somehow I got matched with Norfolk Southern Railroad and ended up getting an interview and co-oping with Norfolk Southern in their transportation department in Decatur, Illinois, which was a short drive. So I ended up co-oping one summer, one spring. And it was through that experience I actually learned about the railroad engineering program at University of Illinois. And so I started taking some classes with Chris Barkin, and I could use those as tech electives for my mechanical engineering degree, which is great. But then as I was thinking about graduation, I didn't really know quite what to do. And I was attending the different weekly seminar that Chris Barkin's group was doing and hearing the presentations from the grad students. And one, right before I graduated, I remember Chris leaned over and he said, "What are you doing next semester after you graduate?" Because I was graduating in December because of the co-op. And I had interviewed some places, but nothing nailed down. And I said, "I'm not sure." He said, "Well, what about doing research with us?" So I ended up going to graduate school at University of Illinois doing research on railway inspection systems. And that's how I got introduced to AREMA, and attended my first AREMA, I think, in 2007. And I also received a couple of AREMA scholarships along the way. I thought it was one, but looking back in my CV, there was actually two: the John J. Cunningham Memorial Scholarship in 2007 and the Larry Atherton Foundation Scholarship in 2008. And that was like, for the first time, I really saw the value of an organization like AREMA, in that, wow, they're putting money where their mouth is. They're actually investing in the next generation. And it was because of that, partly, I enjoyed the conferences, but it was also the scholarships that got me interested in becoming more involved. And so in 2008, I realized they were pushing the AREMA student chapters, but there was only one at the time. There was one in Michigan Tech. And I thought, well, why don't we start another one? And so I helped start the chapter at UIUC and became the founding president. And I could share more about that in a little bit, but that was a great experience. And then ended up going off to work for Norfolk Southern for several years, and they put me in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I got to do a few guest lectures with the budding RTE program, Rail Transportation Engineering program at Penn State-Altoona. And they didn't have an AREMA student chapter at the time. And so I thought, hey, why don't we start a chapter at Penn State-Altoona? And so I helped them get started. I worked with Dr. Hai Huang and helped them get their chapter launched in 2013. And so a couple of years later, I decided I really do love being around college students, and I love teaching. So I took a job teaching with Penn State-Altoona, and now I'm the advisor for the AREMA chapter, which is, I think, one of the, if not the largest student club on campus. So it's, I think we got like 45 members right now. So very active club. And yeah, AREMA's it's been a great experience. Just the whole kind of since 2006, my involvement has really been a huge blessing to my career, but also to the relationships I've formed within the industry.
Fantastic. And before I jump in here with Gary, you said the Illinois chapter was second.
Yes.
What was Penn State's?
Oh, that's a good question. I think by then there was at least 20 chapters. We might have been just under the 20th. Shortly after that, it was up to like maybe 24 chapters.
Okay.
Since COVID, I think they're down a little bit. Some chapters had a hard time getting through the challenging years of COVID. But yeah, I want to say we're definitely in the top 20 of chapters being formed.
Okay, cool. All right, Gary, thank you for waiting patiently for almost 10 minutes until you get to open your mouth. So I appreciate that. Have at it.
Yeah, no problem, Walt. Thanks for having us both on. So, starting back with my great-grandfather, he was a fireman for the Pennsylvania Railroad over in Fort Wayne, and my grandfather was a car inspector for the Wabash Railroad also in Fort Wayne. And if you allow a two-generation hiatus, I am in the picture now as a third-generation railroader. So it all started, I believe, in terms of railroading. 10 years ago, I started volunteering at a local museum, a steam museum. It's not just railroads. It's a lot of other steam-powered equipment. But they do, one of their star exhibits is a narrow gauge railroad. And so I started volunteering there at the age of 12 in 2012. And when it came time after high school was just about done and getting ready to graduate, looking at colleges around Indiana, of course, for any engineering student, I think Purdue University is like the kind of the go-to for mechanical engineering, and that's what I had always looked at. However, on a trip out to Pennsylvania with my family, I came across an ad on Facebook for the Penn State-Altoona Railroad Transportation Engineering Program. And of course, with the railroad background that I had at the museum, I kind of was always interested in doing something after college railroad related. And so seeing that advertisement, I did a quick look into the rail engineering program on the website. That became one of the top 3 schools that I wanted to go to. And I was really lucky to get accepted there and start my career off at Penn State-Altoona in the rail engineering program there. And I got very involved in the AREMA student chapter pretty early on. My freshman year, I ran for the treasurer, and I got elected as the treasurer and stayed with it the remaining 3 years that I was there, and graduated just this year in May of 2022. Outside of the AREMA chapter, I had a few different internships. Of course, COVID during all that time as a college student was pretty difficult. My first internship was actually intended to be WabTech, to work out in Erie, Pennsylvania for them. But of course, with COVID, they ended up canceling their internship program. And so that's what kind of brought me to somewhere closer to home where I didn't need to worry about cost of living or whatnot if I had signed an agreement, being far away. So that's what got me started here at the South Shore Line in the summer of 2020. I worked in their mechanical department, just day-to-day blue card inspections and whatnot on our railroad equipment. My second internship, I again was in the mechanical department in our capital projects, our overhaul program, where we tear down our 1982 built passenger cars and rebuild them from the ground up. And being that they're very special cars, there's very few like them in the country. We do a lot of our rebuild in-house. So we acquire all of our materials and whatnot and do most of the work ourselves. So that, of course, brings me to senior year. And I got the opportunity offered to me to come to our Westlake project. We're building an 8-mile new railroad from Hammond, Indiana down to Dyer, Indiana, with 4 new stations, a yard facility. And like I said, it's all brand new. So that was a great opportunity, and I accepted, and that's where I am today. I'm a projects engineer for our Westlake Corridor project here at the Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, and look forward to our conversation. So.
Yeah, that's a great intro, and you're not kidding. That's a great opportunity to come out of school and jump right into a greenfield project like that. I think the last time people could say that was maybe 1867 when Ed Sparks was just starting out his career with. And just so we're clear, Ed Sparks' wife does listen to these, and she finds all the Ed Sparks Easter eggs. So I just want to put that out there that I enjoy dropping those in there. That's a great story. I do have a question. I know you said your bachelor's is in railroad transportation engineering.
Mhm.
So now, technically, are you a civil engineer, a mechanical engineer, or is this a different realm altogether?
Sure. So I can answer that. And of course, if I get anything wrong, Brian, you're more than welcome to chime in. So
Oh, you got it.
the Railroad Transportation Engineering Program is a ABET accredited civil engineering program. We do most of our coursework is civil engineering, but we do cover mechanical and electrical engineering aspects that are specific to the railroad. But yeah, our ABET accreditation, I do believe, is in civil engineering. So
Actually, I have to jump in and correct you. Yeah, so we have our own designation, Gary. Yeah, so it's a distinct major. Rail transportation engineering is its own major. The core education is in civil engineering, like Gary said. But our students could either take the civil engineering fundamentals of engineering exam or the general engineering exam. So we're a little bit of an oddball for ABET, but yeah, it is the first and currently the only rail transportation engineering degree that's been accredited by the ABET board.
Okay, in order to get a PE, if
Mhm.
one so chooses.
Sure.
Exactly. Yep. And we've had students go on and get their PEs as well.
Okay, but you're both technically. I mean, Brian, you're a mechanical. That's what I
Right.
heard.
My background is mechanical. Yes.
And Gary's working mostly in mechanical. It sounds like so.
Yeah, to date, it's been mostly mechanical. Yeah.
Okay, so for my structures brothers and sisters out there, let the record show I have two mechanical engineers on today's show with no structural representation. Just want to make
Oh, we
sure
do have
to it.
3 civil engineers out of our 5 full-time rail faculty. So
Okay, very well. I do like to hear that.
I'm the
that sounds like a
oddball. Me and
majority to me.
the electrical engineer. We're the oddballs, but hey,
So
you can't run trains without a locomotive and engine, right?
well, who knows? I don't know if you guys came to the presentation we did on Wednesday morning. We talked a lot about the future of rail and potentially electrified locomotives and autonomous vehicles and potentially having self-propelled cars. Who knows? Who knows
That's
what we'll
right.
see?
That's right. We need at
Well,
least the traction motors, though.
And let's also be clear here. When I say we, Brian, I also heard Gary say that when he was 12 years old in 2012, I'm no slouch, Brian, but that tells me he was born in 2000.
I
And
was. Yep.
I was not. I'm going to tell you that right now. So he might get to see those engines. Brian, either one of you can take this question. But if you have someone, I want to use Gary as an example, but you have someone that's young, 12 to 15, maybe they're in high school, and they are sitting down at the dinner table talking to their folks about what they want to do for a living, and they really think that, hey, rail sounds interesting. I would really like to get a degree in rail, and let's put that person out here in Denver with me. Where does one look? How many programs, undergraduate programs, are there for rail education in this country that you know of? And how would that individual even find something like the Penn State? I would never think of the Penn State-Altoona campus. No offense to either of you. I don't know how one would discover. I only know about Illinois just because I've been in the industry long enough to know that's the old granddaddy school. And I know Wisconsin because Wisconsin does a lot of professional education teaching, which I'm part of their faculty doing the stuff for those that are already in the industry. So I think of Wisconsin, I think of Illinois, Michigan. You mentioned Michigan. I've seen them at AREMA.
Michigan Tech, yeah.
Michigan Tech, excuse me, and you guys. So how does that individual even find out? Is that too hard of a
No,
The first question.
that's a great question. I'll take a stab, and then Gary would love to hear you jump in. It's fun to be on this podcast with Gary too. He was one of the stellar graduates from the program, and designing air brakes in his free time, air brake systems, and so it's fun to be on here with you, Gary. But I do want to say when we get prospective students in our office, we typically share with them, there's other programs out there you can look at, and we almost always bring them to the AREMA student chapter website and show them these are all the schools that have an AREMA student chapter, and that's the first place to look because at least they have some interest in rail. And I mean, as far as dedicated programs, there's not a lot out there. We have the only bachelor's of science. Michigan Tech has a minor in railway engineering. UIU, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign Rail Tech has a master's of engineering, and then they have a number of courses that undergraduates can take for sure. But yeah, it's beyond that. It's a lot of schools that do research to some extent in the railway industry, and then there's some faculty that have an interest in rail that can keep the AREMA student chapter functioning. But that's usually the first place I send them is, hey, look at the AREMA student chapter website, see where these schools are that have at least some interest in rail. And beyond that, I'm not sure. Gary, you said you heard about the program through Facebook, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can chime in. I think our graduating class is actually like the perfect combination of examples. So
Okay.
there's our graduating class was 6, I believe. Brian, I think you can confirm that.
Yeah.
Myself, I found out through Facebook, so through promotion, advertising, and whatnot. Another one of our graduates, Kevin, heard through a friend, through conversation. So you have that kind of word to mouth. 2 students, Evan and Jake, both found out after they both grew up in Altoona, just went to Penn State-Altoona for just a generic engineering degree, and then heard about the rail engineering program, heard that the rail industry is looking for more engineers, looking for more people to get involved. And with Penn State-Altoona's job acceptance rate out of the RTE degree, figured that, hey, why not give that a go? It sounds like a great place to be in. We had another student, Thomas, that transferred in from another university after hearing about the rail engineering program. And then, of course, Malik had done some sort of transportation-related high school type of thing and found the rail program that way. So, like I said, Brian, I think that we had a great combination of like all the different ways you could hear about, I think, the rail engineering program through us. And I think Michigan Tech and a few of the other universities that offer something similar probably find prospective students the same way.
So Gary, let's put a bow on that. If you were talking to this kid, let's say he's 17, 18 years old out here and he's my neighbor, what are you going to tell him?
Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody already interested somewhat in the rail industry of some sort, like, hey, I might, want to just go work for Norfolk Southern as a train crew or a track. But they have that kind of engineering background. They maybe want to take that next step. I think that's the conversation to have is, well, hey, if you're looking for a railroad specific, career, why not give this a try? If that's something that you want to go into, that this rail industry, these programs are definitely a great way to take that next step, because not only do they have the course related content, they also have the connections to AREMA. They have the connections to a bunch of industry people that are already out there that can help you that take that step from high school to college, and then from college to either research or college to a full-time career with the railroad, consulting group, or whatever. I mean, that's really, I think, the reason to go to these specific programs as compared to just a typical engineering degree. So,
perfect. Yeah, and I think it sounds like to just take that a little further. These student chapters. Let's take a step back to what Brian talked about in the introduction. You said the second one was at Illinois, and when I know Illinois and Dr. Hay go way back in this industry, and their association with AREMA is very well documented. And I know I have several colleagues and folks that I work with on the committees that went to Illinois. Some of them never left Champaign. They're still there, either doing research or they've opened up consulting firms. So that, do you know when the first one started? I mean, are these, because what I'm hearing is if you were number two in 2006 or seven, this is some pretty recent history.
Yeah, Illinois was 2008, so Michigan Tech, my guess would have been 2006, 5 or 6. But yeah, it is recent history. I mean, but at the same time, there just weren't a lot of railroad programs or focus on rail within universities until then. The Illinois program was quite small. It wasn't even called Rail Tech yet in 2008. It was just the Railroad Engineering Program. So these programs have grown. I think some government funding has grown. But to be honest, AREMA has done an amazing job in encouraging this growth within the industry, within various universities. I mean, I have been incredibly impressed with the way that AREMA has supported student chapters. So when we started our chapter in 2008 at Illinois, all of the materials were already put together. They had a bylaws that you could use, a draft, a constitution, all these things to where it made life easy for me to just kind of plug and play. And the challenge was getting students interested. We had an general interest meeting to say, hey, who would like to come join this club? And we had 5 people show up to that meeting. So we said, okay, including myself, we're going to be the officers. Who wants to do what? Because we needed at least 5 students to be the officers to start a club at Illinois. So everyone in the room got to become an officer, and then we went from there. But AREMA supported us in terms of getting it launched. I had to send a few emails to make sure we got our charter letter to say that we actually were official. But beyond that, $1,000 a year AREMA gives to AREMA student chapters just to function. Beyond that, going to conferences, they'll give you up to $1,000 for your chapter just to attend a conference. I don't know of any other national organization that supports student chapters in that way. And so to get back to, how do you convince a student who's interested or might be interested in the industry? If they can get involved with an AREMA student chapter, they can, and if we can get them to one of these conferences, national conferences, their eyes are just open. They can see all of the, how massive the industry is. And, that I think can make a big difference between a student going into the railway industry and not, especially if they get a scholarship. That adds on even more. But our biggest challenge, and we're working on this, I've been working with Dr. Pasi Latala at Michigan Tech, and he's been leading a lot of the efforts, as well as Tyler Dick at Illinois, and now he's at Texas. We've written a AREMA paper on this. But the biggest challenge is, what about students who are not interested in the railroad industry at all? Gary said, okay, if they have some interest, we can direct them. But what about the student interested in mechanical or civil who doesn't even know that the railroad is a viable career path? That's where we really need to hit hard.
Yeah, I went to Kansas State undergrad, and I did my master's at KU, and both universities had a relatively strong ASCE chapter.
Yes.
In the civil group, and I remember that vividly as we met, I think, once a month during the week. Pizza was provided, and some sort of owner or consultant came in and provided a large project PowerPoint, no different than what we see in some of the technical presentations at AREMA. Almost never did I see rail. I've gone back and spoken at K-State I did a movable bridge presentation, and I remember the kids coming up going, wow, like I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
And it just makes me wonder, like, is there an opportunity here for the two chapters or the student chapters to work together or have a AREMA night at the ASCE meeting? Because ASCE seems like they've really got their fingers in the universities, or maybe that's just my what I've seen.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, work with what's already established there. I've presented at the AREMA student chapter up at University Park here at Penn State. And I know I'm talking to Dr. Riley Edwards at Illinois. I know he's presented at ASCE meetings. But at the same time, at a large university, any large university that has a civil component, I think would be able to sustain an AREMA chapter. And with the type of support AREMA has, the ASCE chapters, I don't think are getting $1,000 a year just to function. And so I think there's going to be, you find those students who have an initial interest in rail. And I think that's going to be a great way to continue to encourage students entering this field. We really have to reach them earlier in junior high and high school, but keeping that interest in college is going to be so important because that's that launch pad into the career, like Gary has shown.
It is, and there seems to be more of an emphasis. I mean, Gary, was STEM like a thing when you were in high school? It was not when I was in high school.
Yeah, it was. And that's, I think, part of the reason why I was looking more into an engineering program than maybe a different type of degree. I spent some time in high school in our manufacturing shop. We had a full-on machine shop with CNC mills and lathes. And so I think that's what even drove me toward working on like a mechanical engineering degree. But knowing that I did want to go into the railroad industry, going into the RT degree, even though, Brian, I think you would agree, is a mostly civil engineering type degree, it still has those other aspects, and that seemed like the good fit for me. So,
okay, yeah, and fun fact, I actually took some night classes in an automotive technology group as I was rebuilding a vehicle, and thought, oh man, this is so cool. We were rebuilding a transmission off a 1940s Jeep. And I thought, for sure, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer. And then I took dynamics. And here I am. So, doesn't always translate directly, but it definitely can steer your career one way or another. So these student chapters, I keep coming back to that, but I do want to talk briefly about scholarships too. But it sounds to me like if anyone's listening, and has interest in starting a student chapter at a school that doesn't have one, please reach out to me or Brian or Gary. However, you can look us up through LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to do it, or just Google our names and you can probably find out something. And I guarantee you, any one of us, I'm probably gonna let's just get this straight. I'm gonna delegate this to Brian. Would love to help you start out or point you in the right direction to start a chapter. And once we get the chapter, so Brian, where does the scholarship piece, are they intertwined, or it's my understanding that you could be attending a school that has no chapter and still apply for a scholarship if you're aware said scholarship exists?
Yeah, so the scholarships are all run through AREMA Committee 24, and that's also where I would probably delegate some of the emails that come in about the starting a chapter. And because there's a whole committee within AREMA promoting education and training and promoting the student chapters, and also making decisions about the scholarship. So there's scholarship committees that take those applications, and every December those applications go in, and they're just writing checks. I mean, I was in grad school at the time, but I can't imagine as an undergrad, to get a check for $1,000. I mean, man, that covers your books for a couple semesters. Even today, I think that's probably true. And so that's one that I think really, there's been the debate, do you have fewer big scholarships or more small scholarships to try to get more interest? And that's a debate that AREMA 24 has been having. But either way, I mean, for students to get real hard money, that makes a difference. You're going to come back and think, okay, what is it about this industry? And I don't know, for you, Gary, what you got 2 scholarships through AREMA, or just this recent one?
Yeah, I did. I received one in 2020 and 2021, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of how I heard about the scholarships. We, of course, have our AREMA student chapter at Penn State-Altoona, and through the chapter, we were able to attend all the annual conferences. And I heard about the scholarship opportunities through the conferences, through the student events and whatnot, and figured, why not? I'll apply and see what happens. And so I'm very grateful to have received the two scholarships, the 2021 and the 2021 one. It in the most difficult part about selecting Penn State is or was that it was out of state for me. So there's the additional cost of an out of state student coming from Indiana to Pennsylvania, and so that the two scholarships, and like Bryan said, I mean, it's the check. So I mean, I just put that toward my housing costs, I believe, and just whatever I could to just kind of bring down the cost of the school to more of an in-state type tuition and whatnot. And it's nice to know that there's people out there, that there's foundations out there that support students and coming into this industry. And I think AREMA has done a very good job so far of making the opportunities available for all these scholarships and awarding them to students. So yeah, I thank AREMA for doing that, for all the scholarships and the student chapters, and giving students these opportunities and kind of that support that this is the right industry to be in. So.
Yeah, I know there is an AREMA Foundation. I know that, having been involved in leadership of committees for many years, it was very scattered, the scholarships. I mean, right down to certain committees had their own literally cash collection in the middle of a meeting to raise $1,000 or $2,000 of cash, and then they would donate that in someone's name, say a long-standing member of one of the structural committees. And I know they've been trying hard to kind of put that all together under one umbrella, which I believe is called the AREMA Foundation, which honestly I should probably do a podcast on that, because I think that's a whole nother area that we haven't really touched on. So, but to kind of just circle back, it sounds like the best way to establish a student chapter is to reach out to Committee 24. That's easy to find. And then the scholarship, they can help you with scholarship direct information as well at that location. But it keeps coming back to the conference, and it sounds like Bryan, getting those students to the big conference, interacting with industry leaders, walking the floor of the expo hall, and by being a member of a student chapter, is it free? Or what?
Yeah,
for the students?
It is, and that's the other amazing thing is
Wow.
the conference is entirely, registration is free, and this is, I mean,
It's $1,000.
People are spending close to $1,000 just to attend the conference. So for the students to be able to attend for free is incredible. Very few industry conferences actually offer that. But then on top of that, if you have an AREMA student chapter at your school, they'll send the chapter $1,000 to help support a lot of the rest of the costs. So for us, the way it works out is students, if it's a far location where we have to fly, students typically at least get their hotels covered. The club may have to figure out how they're going to fund getting to the conference, but the registration is free. And with that $1,000, typically the hotels are free.
Okay. And I know, I'm pretty sure the next one's in Indianapolis, which is pretty centrally located. So if you're listening, that would be a great opportunity to start kind of doing the legwork on attending that conference as a student or as a student chapter. I thought it was that the whatever you and I went to, Bryan, I guess that was the
Meet the Next Generation.
Meet the Next Generation. Thank you. I guarantee you, Erica Brunke is going to be upset that I did not know the name of that the event. But regardless, I was really impressed with how many people in that room were students. I mean, there had to be 50 plus students in just that room. So what a great opportunity to kind of get a feel for what it is this industry even does. I think it's so hard to sit down with someone who's 17 or 18 and, start talking about what they want to do when they grow up, especially in this world of we're competing with so much technology, to get them excited about what we're doing. Even though we have a lot of technology in what we do, we are still a very old industry. And that comes sometimes with stereotypes. So, very cool. I did not know that.
to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, that Meet the Next Generation event is incredible for students to attend because there's such a demand among employers. The students were telling me that they had employers coming up to them, almost like a reverse job fair, because there was such a demand. And I found that to be true back when I started attending as a student. I remember at the time, AREMA had a program where they were collecting resumes of students, and you could put them into this resume platform that employers could look at. And I remember coming back from the conference after actually going to the job fair, but coming back a few days later after the conference, and I'm getting calls from employers saying, "Hey, do you have a job yet for the summer?" And it's just like, where else in the world are you going to find employers calling you and asking you if you want to do an internship?
Not too many places, that's for sure. Well, I could probably keep going another 20 minutes with you guys, and I really appreciate your time just talking about the different student chapters, talking about the scholarships. Gary, thank you for shedding some light on how to even find out about railway transportation degrees. Both of you seem like you'd be great resources if anyone that's listening wants to reach out directly. If you can't find their contact information, again, just look for me. I can absolutely point you in the right direction. Bryan or Gary, any closing thoughts?
Sure, Walter. I mean, thanks for having us both on. Like you said, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, and my email is just my first name dot last name at NICTD.com. Anybody's more than welcome to reach out, and if I don't have the answer, of course, I'll send anybody in the right direction. But yeah, I'm excited to be now full time in the industry, and I thank you for having us on to talk more about how students and the younger generation can get involved.
Yeah, and likewise, I mean, if you're looking for more information about the railroad engineering program at Penn State, you can just Google Penn State RTE. You'll find it, and I'm on the website there. But then beyond that, I just want to leave people with the arema.org website. And if anyone's interested in starting a student chapter, a great place to go is the Students tab. And it shows you how to become a student member, but then also student chapters. And it's got all the information on here of establishing a student chapter, sample charter, sample bylaws. Everything you need is right there. So it's an amazing resource that I definitely would recommend to anybody interested.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you both. And I hope to see you both in person in about 12 months from now, I guess, in Indianapolis. All right, guys. Take care.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
We'll see you there. Take care.
Thank you for rolling with AREMA on today's episode of Platform Chats. For further information about AREMA, please visit arema.org or contact us at info@arema.org.